Drug addicts both use and are used by the illegal economy that supplies their habit. But even on the road to sobriety, some Massachusetts addicts are being ensnared by another economy, a network of sober homes working hand in hand with drug testing labs, getting millions in taxpayer dollars. I'm Dina Rudick with the backstory, here with Boston Globe reporter Patty Wen, who investigated the tangled network of suspect partnerships she found in the sober home economy.
I mean, I've been covering social services for quite a while, and I vaguely heard about sober homes, and I sort of knew they were sort of like halfway houses, but I really didn't know that much about them.
Well, the name implies that there's some sort of government regulation about sober, but it's not. The only government regulations there that they need to hold to are just code, correct?
Exactly, code. I mean, you can't have, cram a bunch of people into a basement unit. That it has to be a safe place.
But you could call it a sober home and people could be doing drugs.
Exactly. I could have a sober home and then I could just tell you to promise me you won't use alcohol or drugs, and that's it.
And how did it come to your attention?
Well, I was in the newsroom when we heard word that this Brookline doctor, Dr. Kishore, had been arrested. He was accused of bilking the state of $4 million in Medicaid reimbursements for urine screens. Where he was getting his patients was in these sober homes. The sober home world was just a world that I think many of us don't realize exists. It's sort of a subculture of the world of rentals.
And you found like the perfect subject. You found this man, Donald. He's a former addict.
Yes.
And he's at the very center of all of these forces, from the drugs on the street, to the sober homes, to the drug testing labs, to Dr. Kishore himself. How did you find this perfect subject?
Well, that was all along when I realized that the story was really about this underworld of sober homes and these labs. I thought to myself, I need to find somebody who's existed in this world. These labs compete against each other, and one was suing the other. I found an affidavit from this Donald Allgrim.
Now this is complicated because Donald's he doesn't just live in Brookline, right?
No. By going through records, I found where he used to live, I found his mother, and then his mother said he's in prison.
And what was your reaction when you
I was like, well, on one level, I have to tell you, I was relieved.
Okay.
I mean, not because I'm relieved that he's in prison, but because I could find him then. He's not moved anywhere. There is a prison. It's not like he's just floating around, or maybe he's in a homeless shelter. I mean,
but getting people to talk to you in a prison, that's not always the easiest thing.
Well, that's where some luck came in. Well, luck comes in everything, but I was contacted the prison, and I put in a formal request to see if he would talk to me, and I explained what my story was about, so that I think, the prison world knows a lot about sober homes, and so fortunately he agreed to speak to me.
At first?
Yes, he did. And we had a phone conversation for like an hour and a half, or I don't know, maybe almost 2 hours. It was very, very helpful.
But I say at first, right?
Right. Well, later, and I'm not really sure why, I wanted to go there to see him, and for reasons that are not clear to me, he didn't want to do an additional interview.
So in addition to talking to Donald, you also had a very interesting conversation with Dr. Kishore, who's at the center of this case. Could you, you confronted him or met him in his office?
Well, I went to his main headquarters, and it was clearly the doors were closed. And quite frankly, I thought to myself, well, I started just using my iPhone, taking some pictures in the hallway, just to show that this was sort of shut down. And then suddenly the door opens, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh gosh, someone's going to think this is really weird, like a reporter's taking pictures of these signs, And out comes Dr. Kishore. And I had recognized him clearly because I had seen him be, arraigned. I'd seen him in court. And he just comes out. And so I just say, hi, I'm Patty Wen from the Boston Globe. As you know, I've been trying to reach you and try to talk to you. And he sort of had this sort of kindly demeanor, saying, yes, I know, my lawyers say that, it's all up to them whether I talk to you. And then I began to just talk to him, and he talked to me. I mean, we were probably at least a half an hour, and he showed me some of his spaces.
Half an hour?
Yes. And so, I mean, nothing's, he wasn't going to be super revealing about the deeper questions, and he even suggested to me at the time that, oh, well, He asked me for my email address. He said, write me again, maybe I can have a longer conversation.
But in the article you mentioned that he abruptly but politely ended the conversation.
Yes, at one point he of course I would have liked to have stayed for hours.
What did you want to ask him? Like, is there one question at the top of your head?
Oh boy. I mean, quite frankly, I was surprised to see him there, but I would have wanted to ask him about how he defended himself against these charges. I mean, they have checks showing that he wrote these additional monies to these landlords. And I would have, of course, loved to have asked him, okay, tell me, what is the facilities fee? What is this extra expense that you're writing these checks for?
Your story involves a handful of sober homes and this doctor.
Right.
What do you think this means for the larger network of sober homes in Massachusetts?
I think there is talk, given that they form some sort of a healthcare function. I mean, you don't have enough inpatient places for these drug addicts, and when they come out, a lot of them can't really live with family and friends. They've worn out their welcome there. And I think that given that these sober homes play this role, I think there's some look at maybe regulating them so that there's some consistent set of standards and supervision.
Great. Thank you very much for talking with us.
Oh,
Really
you're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
You're welcome. Thank you.